Hey, what's up everyone? It is I, DPX. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, DPX Talks, for about an hour. Today is the annual WrestleMania recap. The first time, unless I backtrack on this, but I should because you guys spoke in the poll. The first time I'm uploading this to my main channel. I never really uploaded this to the main channel. It was always on D3PX because I kind of just thought, it never lined up with my audience. But I made a poll saying, would you guys be down for this being on my main channel? The options were yes, no, and I don't care, do what you want. And I was expecting you guys to say I don't care, do what you want, but a lot of you guys said yes, which tells me that you guys want to hear what I think about WrestleMania. So, yeah. I was really excited for WrestleMania I'm always excited for WrestleMania, of course. It's WrestleMania. As a big wrestling fan, that is. But this one especially, because this is the first WrestleMania that is, we don't know how much he's involved, but, primarily not being booked by Vince McMahon. It's a Triple H WrestleMania. And the card was, really good with a few matches that I didn't really, care for that much. But, overall, we had a very exciting card. And before we start with the recap, all I'm going to do, if you watch my past 3 WrestleMania recaps, basically what I do is I just go through each match and I just give my thoughts on each match and maybe each segment, each moment that happens. So, excuse me. Before we even get started, I just want to say the WrestleMania set, the stage, was awesome. It looked awesome. I don't know what to say, really. It just, I feel like for a while they've been nailing the sets. This set really, because it looks big, whenever someone enters through the entrance ramp, they look like a star just because they're on this, literally big stage. And it definitely, it screams Hollywood, which is the theme, of course, which I really like. So we start off the night, of course, with The Miz and Snoop Dogg, hyping up the show. One of the lights just went out. Alright, got the light working again. But yeah, the night started off with The Miz and Snoop Dogg, opening up the show, just hyping it up. When I say they open up the show, I don't mean they had a match. Can you imagine Snoop Dogg versus The Miz? But so yeah, that happened. They just hyped it up, and then we get right into our first match: John Cena versus Austin Theory. Now, Austin Theory's had a bit of a bizarre year. He was, when Vince McMahon was there, his whole thing was that he was Vince McMahon's pick to be the future of the company, And then when he won the Money in the Bank, he kind of that's after that he lost the cash in, and then he kind of seemed like he was going down the card, but then he won the US title, and he's honestly been on a roll since then. He's gotten more serious and everything. Yet still being, I think he's a really good heel. He's the type of heel that he's just annoying, he's just a shithead, and I like those kinds of heels, because all they need to do, they don't necessarily need to be disrespectful, they're not all they need to do is just to be a massive knobhead and get under your skin. And that's exactly what Austin Theory does well. So, I was a little worried here because I thought he should win because he's honestly on a roll. But then, during that one promo between Austin Theory and John Cena kind of buried Theory on the mic, and I feel like Austin Theory needs to win this match or else he's done, because you get buried like that. The only way to come back from that is if you beat John Cena, and if you get buried like that and lose, like, you're done. But so I got worried when John Cena brought out a whole bunch of Make-A-Wish kids whose wish was to be at WrestleMania, which was very nice. I want to say that was very nice, part of Cena's entrance. But I'm like, it would be so fucked up if you bring these kids out and then have Cena lose. But that's what they did. But I guess it's a way to get heat onto Theory. But yeah, they had a pretty decent match. It wasn't a crazy good match. It was a little weird, I guess, being the opener. Originally, like, the opening match of WrestleMania was always, like, like a less important match. But lately they've been getting, like, a bunch of big matches, a bunch of exciting matches to be the opener to get people pumped for the show. Because that's when the audience, like, when the crowd is the most fired up, is at the beginning of the show. So, it started from, like, getting, like, whatever matches, like, who cares about this match, as the opener, to now getting a match with John Cena in the opener, and now John Cena's at his point where, like, he's a big draw. So, and I like this. It's like, you have an interesting story here. Austin Theory looked up to John Cena, and now they have a match. And a lot of people are comparing Austin Theory to, like, a younger John Cena. So I thought this match was going to be a passing of the torch, and it kind of was, but it didn't really feel like that. And that's because of the finish. I'm not saying Austin Theory should have won clean, because that would have, like, I don't think that would have been that believable. Like, I know you want to put him over Cena, but having him just beat Cena clean would be a bit much to ask for. But it had, like, what bothered me, and this might be a nitpick, but what bothered me was the ref bump, which I think after seeing that in every Roman Reigns match, I feel like that's starting to get annoying. But a ref bump, and then Cena locking in the STF, Theory taps, he just so happens to tap when the referee is out, and John Cena celebrating like he won, like he's not a veteran who has probably been through this before, and clearly didn't realize that the bell didn't ring and his music didn't just start playing, and it's just a nitpick I have where, like, people think they won. Like, do you not have ears? I feel like you should know that the bell would have just rung, or your music should have just started playing, But, and so that, but especially with John Cena, who's a veteran to the business, like, and he's John Cena, so he should know how. And so basically after that he tries to wake up the ref, but then Austin Theory gives him a low blow, and then A-Town down, 1, 2, 3. Not a bad opener, spoiler, I don't think there's a single bad match on this on night one. But I don't know, like, as a passing of the torch, it's really big that Austin Theory just got a win over John Cena. That is really huge. Even though it wasn't clean, that still means, like, whoever beats Austin Theory for the U.S. title, I think I forgot to mention this was for the U.S. title, which elevates the U.S. title, by the way, having a singles match with John Cena challenging at WrestleMania, So whoever beats Theory for the U.S. title gets elevated because Theory got elevated by beating Cena, So that's good. This did a lot for Theory, but it didn't pass the torch over to him. And I don't know why. I that sounded bad, but like I can't really, because of course he wasn't gonna win clean, but like the whole ref bump and Cena being stupid, it's a little. I can maybe like understand if it was not someone like John Cena, who's like a veteran to the business, and like one of the greatest of all time, not realizing that he did not just win the match. I don't know. That's a nitpick. This is a fine match, a solid opener. People were into John Cena. They wanted him to win. He still had it. He didn't seem washed up. And yeah, I don't think this is Cena's retirement match, but I think he's going to that. He's gonna face some people who, like, he's gonna face some people before he retires. He's gonna have some possible dream matches, is what I'm trying to say, before he retires. And putting over Austin Theory, I think, is a good step. So yeah, decent opener with a bit of a lame finish. But yeah. Next up is the Fatal 4-Way Men's Showcase Tag Match, whatever the fuck, between Braun Strowman and Ricochet versus the Street Profits versus Alpha Academy versus the Viking Raiders. Now, this and the women's, there's a women's match, of course, on night 2. These seem like nothing more than to just give 8 men and 8 women a spot on the card. And the women's match, there's a bit more to criticize with that one, and I'll get to that when I review night 2, which in case this is your first time watching the WrestleMania recap, which it probably is, because it's the first time I'm uploading to my main channel, but I review both night 1 and night 2 in one episode. But right now I'm reviewing night 1. This is like before night 2 has happened, and then after night 2 happens, I will review night 2. But so, where was I? This felt like nothing more than a way to get these 8 men, and for night 2, the 8 women on the card. And but this one I was more excited for. I'll get into why. Okay, the women's match seemed like a bunch of like thrown together tag teams. This is the men's one is for established tag teams, and they're all very good. Viking Raiders are really good. Street Profits are really good. Alpha Academy is really good. Strowman and Ricochet is an odd pairing that I never asked for, but I actually started to really like them. And I wasn't expecting much, and this match didn't go on for that long, but holy shit, this match over-delivered, I think, because it was a spot fest, but like, it was a crazy spot fest. You get a nice balance. You get like, Chad Gable, Ricochet, and Montez Ford. 3 high flyer, flippy, athletic guys. You get Braun Strowman, Ivar, and Otis, 3 kind of big men, and you get Angelo Dawkins and Eric, who are kind of in the middle, of big men and athletic, flippy, high flyer guys. And you have some like really, really wow-inducing, if that's a thing, spots. Like Chad Gable giving a suplex to Braun Strowman. That was sick, and Strowman doing like the running around outside the ring. to just get stopped by Angelo Dawkins, you know, half his size. Like, that was cool. And then the big, like, mountain suplex spot off the top, I never really remember what that's called, but, like, that was cool too. There's not really much to say about this match, really, other than it was an entertaining as fuck spot fest, you know. Some matches get criticized for being a spot fest, but this was a good spot fest. And yeah, this might be the biggest surprise of the night, because, you know, the showcase matches seemed like a throwaway idea. Like, let's just get these 8 men on the card, but it delivered. It was a lot of fun. Like, I wanted to watch this match, of course, because we had some nice talent involved, but still, like, it banged. This was a good match, and yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a surprising. It was definitely a surprising match. I'm looking at a recap right now, just so I know the order of the matches and everything. There's this one tweet that, looking at CBS Sports, one tweet that from WWE that they're showing. Oh yeah, this is the spot, the big ass, like, tower suplex spot. Yeah, it would. I don't know, like, the best word I can use to describe this match was fun. This was a fun match. Would have liked it, honestly, to be a little bit longer, but at the same time, maybe it would have overstayed its welcome. So, short and sweet, and a lot of fun. Next up, I said that men's showcase match was the surprise of the night. But ask me about this match like a year ago, and this probably would have been the surprise of the night. Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul. I want to say Logan Paul. I want to say Logan Paul impressed me, but this is it's his 4th match, 3rd singles match, and he's not had a bad match. And he's a really good wrestler, you know, and it pains me to say this because Logan Paul, you know, he's a very easy person to just not like, and that's why he's playing a heel, you know, and he excels as a heel. They try to turn him babyface for a little while, but he's just so much better as a heel. I'd say he actually wasn't a bad babyface when he was with Roman Reigns, but, like, he needs to play a heel, especially, you know, he's still proven to be a bit problematic with the crypto scam and everything. Just make him a heel, have everyone boo him, so it's exciting to see when Seth Rollins stomps his face and wins. And yeah, he had a nice entrance from a zip line, kind of like Shawn Michaels at forget what WrestleMania was it 12? Is it either 11 or 12? I can't remember, but yeah. And then Seth Rollins had an entrance like a choir or a music conductor. Conducting the audience because the audience sings along to his song. That's so cool. That's part of the reason why I like WrestleMania. So obviously, like, you're there for the wrestling, but, like, WrestleMania is like spectacle, and you give 2 guys like this an entrance, and it's like, yeah, this is a lot of fun. And Seth Rollins and Logan Paul honestly they just fought each other, you know, and yeah, they just brought a fight. And, you know, Logan Paul, there are times, like, I thought Seth Rollins was gonna win going in because the story kind of, like, you know, Seth Rollins hasn't gotten a big win in a while, so, like, yeah, there are times throughout the match where I actually thought, like, is Logan Paul about to win? Because he's kind of cooking Rollins, you know? But Rollins won. But, you know, Logan Paul, he made Logan Paul look really good in a losing effort. And, you know, Logan Paul's really good. He's a good wrestler. I don't know what else to say. And I hate to say it because, you know, we don't like Logan Paul. He's, you know, we thought he redeemed himself, but, like, you know, the crypto shit, you know, that's still kind of new in a lot of people's heads. But he's a good wrestler, and I think, Logan, I know you're not watching this, but I feel like you're probably the most likely person to be watching this because you're a YouTuber and so am I. But, you know, you're not watching this. But if you are, stick to wrestling, alright? Stick to wrestling. And yeah, it did get to some territory where I'm kind of like, what the fuck am I watching? And not because of anything bad, it's just, so, Logan Paul had a Prime bottle mascot with him the whole time, and I knew that was going to be somebody. Like, I knew they were going to, whoever that was going to reveal themselves to be someone. I thought it was going to be Jake Paul, and I was kind of, like, dreading that, you know, but then, it turned out to be KSI, and, I remember, like, a few years ago, hearing about an interview that KSI had saying he's interested in working in WWE. I completely forgot about that, but I guess now he's in the company. I don't know if he'll have a match or anything like that. I did hear about a backstage segment where he said he wanted to fight Bobby Lashley, and Bobby Lashley issued an open challenge. So who knows? Maybe by tomorrow when I review Night 2, I'll be talking about a match between KSI and Bobby Lashley. I don't fucking know, but yeah, KSI was there dressed as a bottle of Prime, and that makes sense because they were, Logan Paul and KSI own Prime together, and also KSI is not as hateable as Logan or Jake Paul, so, you know, so he got a nice little pop when he showed up. But then when I say it went into, like, what the fuck am I watching territory, it's not bad. It's just, I'm watching Logan Paul teaming up with, or Logan Paul with KSI dressed up as a bottle of Prime, double team Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. It's like, what the fuck am I watching? This, like, you know, but, yeah, and it had a pretty cool finish, you know, with Logan Paul and KSI teaming up, putting Seth Rollins on the announce table, and then Logan Paul does like a frog splash from the turnbuckle onto the announce table, but then is like drinking a Prime and spits it out, not really like hyping himself up, not noticing that Seth Rollins moved out of the way and put KSI on the fucking table. So then Logan Paul he frog splashes KSI. It's like, what the fuck did I even just say? You know what I mean? But then Rollins puts Logan into the ring, curb stomps, and then 1, 2, 3, and you have a nice moment with Seth Rollins finally shutting Logan Paul the fuck up, and that was nice. You got a solid match. Again, Logan Paul is pretty good at wrestling, and Seth Rollins is definitely like a good person, a good guy to, you know, have this. You know, Seth Rollins, I think, is probably one of the best wrestlers, like, right now, one of the best wrestlers when it comes to, like, the in-ring skill. And Logan Paul, even though he's really good, he is still kind of new to this. So, pairing him up with Seth Rollins, I think, was a good idea. So yeah, moving on to the next match, we have Becky Lynch, Lita, and Trish Stratus versus Damage Control, the team of Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky. This was interesting. I kind of called that they were going to do... I didn't think they were going to do this match, but a while back I thought they were going to do Becky Lynch versus Bayley in some way at WrestleMania. And I wanted them for a while to do a non-women's title match at WrestleMania. Just have a match between two women, or at least, I guess in this case, 6 women, but have a match between 2 women that, at WrestleMania, that's just two people hate each other. And they just want to beat the shit out of each other, as opposed to it being for a title, you know? Because, like, why not? Why not? And, but I mean, like, before that, to be fair, before this year, like, there was never a program that called for that. But this time, there was. And I do kind of wish they didn't take the tag titles, like, make that a part of this. You know, I wish that was, like, separate, so you have more women's matches. But whatever. It was... I think the story here is really cool. Becky Lynch has been feuding with Damage Control for a while, since SummerSlam, you know, and calls upon 2 of her inspirations that, like, inspired her to do wrestling, to team up with her and take on her 3 enemies that have been a thorn in her side for, like, since July or August, whenever the fuck SummerSlam was. That's a good story, and it was very nice seeing Trish Stratus and Lita at WrestleMania, you know, because we don't see them wrestle too often. Like, we saw Lita last year, and also earlier, like a few weeks ago, win the tag titles with Becky, but, like, her and especially Trish Stratus, we haven't really seen wrestle too much. And it's especially been a while since we've seen them on a WrestleMania stage. So it was very nice to see them here, and I feel like, you know, you should maybe use them a bit more. You know, they're around, they still have it, you know, they can still go in the ring. Maybe use them a bit more, you know? This match wasn't anything too crazy. It was a fun match. It definitely had moments where it's like, you know, Damage Control is like, you know, winning, and then, you know, everyone gets their moments, at least on the baby faces. You know, Becky had her moment, Lita had her moment, Trish Stratus had her moment, and it was, there's not really much to say about this one. I do kind of wish, I mean, I'd say Becky, Lita, and Trish were, like, the correct winners for this, in the sense that, like, you know, this feud's been going on for a while, and the right choice was to have the baby faces win, you know. But, like, and I'm not saying you couldn't have ended it with Becky, Lita, and Trish winning, but, like, did Damage Control ever, like, get a win over Becky? Or, like, because all they've done, this was a promising faction, but I feel like all they've done since they formed was just lose, you know? I think now might be time to just disband the faction. Give them all singles runs. You know, Io Sky and Dakota Kai they're both really good wrestlers, and I feel like they've been just held down by Damage Control, which shouldn't be the case. This should have, like, kind of excelled them, you know. This should have pushed them into stardom a bit more, but it really didn't, because they weren't booked that strong. Even as tag champs, they weren't booked that strong. So yeah, but I can't say this was the wrong winner, because I feel like if Damage Control won this match, then the feud would have been prolonged. And even though this wasn't a bad feud, it went on. It's been going on since SummerSlam, and I feel like this is a good spot to end the feud, especially with rumors of Trish Stratus turning heel and having a program with Becky Lynch, which sounds awesome. I didn't think that was gonna happen here, but there's a possibility that that was gonna, and it didn't. But you know, you get a nice moment with Becky, Lita, and Trish all celebrating. You know, two legends when it came to like women wrestling, and the possibly the most popular female wrestler right now. You know, there's something really cool about seeing that. You know, and even though the match I don't think was anything special, there are some nice moments. You know, the spot with Trish doing like the, what was it like? It was like a Hurricane Rana off of like the like the ring post onto Io or Dakota, I forget who, but like, you know, that was really cool. But not a special match, but it was a nice moment. It was like I said, it was nice to see, like, there's just something cool about seeing Becky, Lita, and Trish like in the ring together, teaming and celebrating. That was cool. But yeah. Next up, we have, I think, the best storyline going in that wasn't like anything to do with the bloodline. We have the father versus son match. Rey Mysterio versus Dominik Mysterio. I was actually thinking, like, is this the first ever father versus son match, like, ever? And then I remembered, oh wait, no, there's Shane McMahon versus Vince McMahon. And then, but then, like, it was funny, they kind of mentioned, like, we haven't had a father versus son match at WrestleMania in 20 years or whatever. Like, they said that on commentary, but they didn't say who. They didn't say the two. They don't want to mention Vince McMahon, which I think is kind of funny, actually. But yeah, this is like I think this story, like, this is the best story of the, again, other than the bloodline stuff. And you know, Dominik is. I just want, like, I remember last year when I reviewed WrestleMania. I was talking about, you know, a lot of people say Dominik's not that good. I didn't think he was that bad. He was just green. You know, and that's why they had him in a tag match last year, as opposed to a singles match. Excuse me. You know, maybe he wasn't ready to have like this big singles match with Rey Mysterio, because I know that's his father, but Rey Mysterio is like a big deal. But then they turned him heel and had him join the Judgment Day. And since then, he's one. I think he's definitely one of the best heels in the company. He's just a massive shithead. It's so funny. Everyone, like, whenever he shows up, everyone just boos the shit out of him. And I really think his gimmick of being like a hardened criminal is so funny, because like, seeing how the story played out, he spent like, what, 2-3 hours in jail. So now his thing is that he's seen hard times. It's so funny. But like, when you have moments like where Dominik is like trash talking Rey, you know, on like SmackDown or whatever, and you have the crowd just chanting for Rey to beat his ass, you know, when you have that means people are invested in this story, which is a good thing, you know. So you have that, and the match wasn't. I thought this match could steal the show. I don't think it was. Not a bad match. It was actually a pretty solid match, but nothing like too crazy good. It was more the storytelling of this match. I thought, like, this match told a really good story. You know, you have Eddie. Eddie. The funny thing is, I was about to talk about Dom, but I guess I accidentally said Rey. but then I said Eddie because Ray came out. But so Dominik, actually, maybe Dominik is the son of Eddie anyways, but Dominik comes out, like, he gets escorted from a prison to WrestleMania, and he gets escorted out of, like, a cop car, just in handcuffs, with police just with him, which I thought was awesome. He looked like a star, and that just, it's so fun. I'm sorry, I can't with this get, like, it's not like I can still take it seriously, which is the thing. It's really funny that his gimmick is that he's a hardened criminal, but, like, at the same time, like, yeah, I can take it seriously and all that, you know? But, yeah, that was really cool having him come out in a cop car, you know, in handcuffs. And then you have, with Rey Mysterio, you have him in a lowrider with Snoop Dogg, kind of paying homage to Eddie Guerrero, and even playing a bit of Eddie Guerrero's music, which was really nice, and wearing a mask that made him look like the Great Muta, you know. So not a lot of nice little callbacks, a lot of, you know, homages. And also Rey Mysterio, you know, this is good for Dom, because not only is Dominik Mysterio fighting his father here, but also, like, he's fighting a newly inducted Hall of Famer, you know. And I kind of feel like Dom should have gotten the win. But he didn't. But, I mean, like, I can't even get, because you had a great moment with Ray finally just shutting his dickhead son the fuck up. And also, Rey Mysterio hasn't won a big match in a while. You know what I mean? So, like, this might have been, like, the biggest match for Ray's career in a while. You know, I don't know if this was his biggest match ever, but it was definitely his biggest match in a while. This might have been his biggest match since returning to WWE, you know, for, like, how high it is up on the card, and, like, the story behind it and the hype behind it. And this is obviously Dominik's biggest match of his career. And they told a good story. They had a match. They wrestled. They did some nice flippy stuff. You know, I think they work well off of each other, which makes sense because it's father and son. And you have moments where, like, Dominik fucking splashes water, or there might have even been beer, in his sister's face. And, you know, that got the crowd to boo Dominik. But then another moment where he's, like, shit-talking his mom, who's behind the barricade with his sister, of course. And his mom just slaps the shit out of him. Like, and the crowd, like, erupted, you know. And, you know, it's just so cool to see, just, you know, the crowd helps a lot. I think the crowd really helped with this match, because, like, the crowd wanted nothing more than to see Dominik just get his face kicked in, and Ray just beat the shit out of him, you know. And seeing some much needed comeuppance from his mom was satisfying. It would have been cool, you know, have it come full circle. It would have been cool to see his sister kind of give him a low blow. But they're not done with this story, so they might do that down the line. But then you have the Judgment Day. You know, you have Damian Priest and Finn Balor kind of causing a bit of a distraction for Ray. But then you have Legado coming down and helping Ray out, evening the odds, which I thought was really cool. Yeah, like I said, it wasn't a bad match, you know, but I think this was more of a story. This was more of a storytelling match than it was a wrestling match. But there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, this was definitely the best story going into WrestleMania. That wasn't like that wasn't like the Bloodline or anything like that. This was the best story going in, other than the Bloodline, and you can have a story match, and for that it's a very solid match. I want to say it's my match of the night just because of the moments and the pop that Ray got when he beat Dominik, and like him celebrating with his wife and daughter. Like that was a nice moment, and the entrances. But yeah, I don't know why I said but, like I was gonna say like, but really, but no. This was a solid match. I forgot to tell you the finish. This was an interfering, like a bit of an interference, but I think it was good. You have, the referee distracted, and so Damian Priest gives Dominik the like a chain, and Dom is gonna either punch Ray with the chain wrapped around his fist, or he's gonna whip Ray with the chain. I don't really know what he was gonna do. But Bad Bunny, who I forgot to mention, was at the Spanish announce team. Which I know if you're just watching this and you're not really familiar with wrestling, this is going to sound really weird. What the fuck is Bad Bunny doing here? But Bad Bunny comes in, takes the chain from Dom, and then Ray, like, he beats him. And that's Bad Bunny. I really feel like I have some non-wrestling fans watching. So the Bad Bunny had a match a few years ago, and he's really solid, So, yeah, he was here, and I guess Latino, got 2 Latino wrestlers, and you have Bad Bunny there. And the next pay-per-view is going to take place in Puerto Rico as well, so maybe that's building towards something. But, yeah, it was a good match, but mainly because of the story they told. But you had, as a match, it was a good match. It wasn't a bad match at all. I don't think there's a bad match on the card. There was one moment that I thought was a little, like, Ray took out his belt from his attire and started whipping Dominik, which shouldn't that be, like, that should be a DQ, right? Like, now, one issue I have since Triple H took over is that kind of the referees kind of don't do their job so much, because there's a lot of time they don't count when people are out of the ring, and stuff like this. People interfere a lot more, and the ref could have easily seen it. And stuff like this, like Ray clearly just used a weapon when that would be a disqualification, unless this was a no DQ match. That might be what this program ends with, a no DQ match. But even that, it was like the crowd popped when that happened because, like I said, everyone just wants to see Dominik just get his fucking face kicked in. So. Yeah, it was a good match, a nice moment, and yeah, but this feud's not done. In a way, it kind of just got going, so, yeah. Anyways, moving on to, the next match, you had, like, the crowd was fired up for that match, and they seemed kind of dead for this one, but then it got going, and it just kept, like, going and going and going, as in, like, kept getting better and better and better, and the crowd woke the fuck up. We have Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. In a way, I kind of feel bad for them, because it seemed like they were gonna main event night 1, but then everyone wanted to see the next match, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos, main event night 1, and so, and I do think that was the right choice still. even if I think this might have been the better match. But I do think that being the main event was the right choice. But, I kind of feel bad for them because they were going to main event night 1, but then they kind of got the rug pulled from under them. Excuse me. But then, so I like to believe that Charlotte and Rhea were like, alright, so if we can't main event, let's steal the fucking show. And they did. This might have been, I don't know, I feel like we keep saying this. We said this about last year with Becky and Bianca, and the year before that with Sasha and Bianca. But I feel like this might be one of the best women's WrestleMania matches. Maybe one of the best women's matches ever. Because they absolutely stole the It started off slow. And the crowd were not awake for it. I'm like, oh no, the crowd's just not into this one. But then it got going. And when it got going, it got going. You know what I mean? And you have a bit of a story here. These two met and fought a lot. Like, at WrestleMania 36, they fought each other. Rhea Ripley really should have won that match because, what did Charlotte have to gain from winning that? She was already an established multi-time women's champion. Why does she need to win the NXT champion? But she won. And it kind of hurt Rhea for a while. And then the next year, she came back and beat Asuka for the Raw Women's Champion. And then feuded with Charlotte, and Charlotte just beat her. And it really felt like these two can never, share the ring together, and Rhea ever gets, the win at all. Which is disappointing. But, so you finally have these two, and Rhea Ripley has, definitely improved. She's gotten really good, and she's gotten really over, despite the fact that she's a heel. She's gotten really over. And you have this match, and even though everyone is behind Rhea Ripley, and no one really wants to see Charlotte Flair win, even though that's the case, you still had, a super exciting match. You still have, the crowd's popping for Rhea, and the crowd booing Flair. It's like Flair... Charlotte's like a heel playing a babyface. Even and I feel like you can't keep her as a babyface because she's a much better heel. Especially, I think what says it all is there's a moment where Rhea's trying to get heat by going over to the crowd or in the middle of the ring, kind of beating Charlotte down, and she goes, "Is this your queen?" And then the crowd, you can quite clearly hear them just go "No!" So, I think that says a lot to how over Rhea is and how, not over Charlotte is. That's not to say Charlotte's a bad wrestler. She actually is a really good wrestler. But no one wanted to see her beat Rhea. And they did a good job because Rhea won. But, it started off slow. I was actually, it was just me, I guess, because I was getting really tired. It was a long day for me, I guess. I felt like I was going to fall asleep. It didn't mean anything to the match, really. I was just, I kind of felt that way for the past couple of matches where I felt like I was just going to doze off. Then at a certain point, I kind of don't really remember when exactly. No, it was at one near fall. Where it looked like, I don't really remember actually. It was one near fall where it looked like, I think Charlotte was about to win, and people didn't want Charlotte to win, but Rhea kicked out at the last second, and then everyone got fired up. I woke up, and they just stole the show. They had some submission spots, Charlotte locking in the figure 8 or figure 4, whatever the fuck it is, and it looked like Rhea was gonna tap. Some ref bumps or near ref bumps. The spot with Charlotte hitting like face planting onto like the ring post, that looked like it actually fucking hurt. And at a certain point Charlotte's nose was like bleeding. I think that was before this, but like they had a war. They beat the shit out of each other, and then the riptide from the top rope, 1, 2, 3, Rhea's the new champion. Amazing. You had an amazing match. And you know what? I think if I were to I don't give wrestling matches scores, but if I were to, I think this would be 5 stars. I really do think it's a 5-star classic, because even though I said it started slow, that's just because everyone went crazy for the last match. But it built up, This match started off slow, but then got really good as it went along. And some matches do that. Some matches start off slow, and they try to get it going as it goes along. But a match I think about when it comes to this is AJ Styles and Edge from last year. They had a match where it's supposed to start off slow and then slowly build throughout the match, and then by the end they put on a banger. But once it got going, the match was over. Once this match got going, it was a little while before it was over. You know what I mean? They stole the show, and I think this is my match of the night, even though I think the main event was the right pick for the main event. But this was definitely, if this went on last, I don't think, I don't think I would have had much of a problem, I feel like people would have just been like, oh, the tag match should be last. And it definitely should be, because that's the story. That's the main event story. But, then they would have, this match would have, shut people up, which, yeah. Now I want to see Rhea Ripley have a dominant reign as SmackDown Women's Champion, because, she deserved it, and she's a really good wrestler. I think just have her just mowed people down, And yeah, that's that match. Then we have an impromptu match, because we have Snoop Dogg and The Miz. I don't know if I mentioned this, but they're kind of like co-hosts of the show, But Snoop Dogg and The Miz, announcing tonight's attendance, and they often fake the attendance, but I think this the stadium was sold out. And usually, the commentators say that, but I think, I heard that this actually did sell out. And, you can even tell when you look in the crowd, it looked like people were, it didn't look, it looked like people were, kind of squishing next to each other. You know what I mean? It didn't look, it looked like as if it had actually sold out. So, yeah, but then The Miz says, I issued an open challenge for anyone. I issued it on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, Twitter. He dropped MySpace, which I think is funny. And no one answered me. And then Pat McAfee comes out, and we all miss his commentary. He was a commentator, but also he occasionally had a few matches, and he's pretty solid. So he had an impromptu match with The Miz, and it wasn't anything crazy. It was a nice moment. You had that one football player, I forget his name, George Kittle. I have it written there. George Kittle showed up, and he was in the crowd at front row, and when the ref wasn't looking, him and Pat McAfee just beat the shit out of the Miz, and that was the match. That's really all I could. It was fine. I say there wasn't a bad match on the show. This wasn't a bad match. It was a nice moment seeing Pat McAfee return to a major pop and beating the shit out of like an easy heat magnet, the Miz. And it was a nice moment. I don't know what else to really say about it. And then you have the main event. I don't like to be like this, but before the talk about maybe this should be the main event happen, I thought that this should be the main event of night one. Before all the discourse about it happened, and I can just say that, and I can't prove it because there's no record of me ever saying that. I never made a tweet about it. I never said it in any videos. But so it's unprovable, but you'll just have to believe me. I called this being the main event before everyone else did. But we have the Usos, Jimmy and Jay versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for the undisputed tag team champions. Maybe soon they can break up the tag champions because because they finally got some good tag teams, and I feel like they could totally use them, but I'm so happy this is the main event. Not only is it the first time the tag titles main evented WrestleMania, is this the first time a tag team match has main evented WrestleMania since the first main event? Look, all you guys are going to be like, oh, DPX stupid, the first main event, but like, since then, has there been another tag team main event since then, in between that one and this one? I don't think so. And the thing is, everyone in here deserved it. Like Kevin Owens, which is really cool. Kevin Owens got to main event WrestleMania 2 years in a row. He was kind of like, I feel like a supporting character in the storyline. But like, Sami Zayn, he got really popular. You have to give him the main. If you're not gonna give him the match with Roman at WrestleMania, of course, you gotta. And you gotta have him in this match. I feel like you gotta make this the main event. And the Usos have had a fantastic long reign as tag champions. And you know what? I feel like they are basically main eventers. Even by being associated with Roman. But even then, it's like they had a long reign. I feel like when they lose the titles, it's kind of nice that after a long-ass reign that they had, they lose the titles in a main event, in a WrestleMania main event. That's really nice. And I said that Rey versus Dom was the best storyline that didn't have to do with the bloodline. This one did have to do with the bloodline. So this, with the Roman versus Cody match, tied for the best storyline going in. And while it would have been nice to see Sami Zayn beat Roman at Elimination Chamber, that's not really where the story was. The story was, the main thing was between Sami Zayn and the Usos. That was the main story. That was the main thing here. And when that fell apart, that was gonna be like the main thing. I kept saying main thing, but so you have a story here for the tag titles that warrants a WrestleMania main event, and it got it. I'm sorry, I'm just so happy that this got the main event, because like, even though I think Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley was the better match, this was definitely like, this is how you close out the show. This is the one where you close out the show. But regardless, this was kind of like the Flair versus Ripley match, where the two kind of had a it was slow at first, but then it got going. And Sami Zayn, bro. Sami Zayn looked fucking awesome in this match. Like, he took so many super kicks and he kicked out. He took so many double super kicks and kicked out. He took the 1D and he kicked out. And I didn't know this until they made a big deal about it. No one's ever kicked out of the 1D. So that's crazy. And so yeah, there's a moment where they removed Kevin Owens from the occasion by the Usos putting him through the announce table. Even though, like, it had to be Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens winning, there were moments where it's like, holy shit, the Usos are going to win. The Usos are going to beat KO and Zayn. But then Kevin Owens gets the hot tag, and so Kevin Owens gets a hot tag, beats the shit out of the Usos, and then it ends. This is how I thought it was going to end in some way, with Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, because they had more, like, the friendship. Jey Uso's the one who vouched for Sami Zayn being a part of the bloodline, and he's the one who turned his back, that started this program between the two tag teams. I knew it was going to end with those two, with Sami Zayn pinning Jey Uso, and you have a haluva kick from Sami to Jey, and another one, and then you hear Sami Zayn saying, "I'm sorry, Jey, I love you," or whatever the fuck. Then does it again. 1, 2, 3. You have new tag team champions. This is a way to elevate the tag titles, can I just say? And it's a way to elevate the tag titles, by giving it this main event spot. Now, I don't just mean, like, having it go on last. I mean, like, actually giving it this story, you made them feel like they were a big deal. Even though Sami Zayn going from, like, the Universal title, like, challenging for that, down to the tag titles, normally under, like, Vince McMahon, for example, that would feel like a massive downgrade. And even though that is a bit of a downgrade, it doesn't feel like a massive downgrade, especially since he still got to main event night 1. Whoops. And it was such a feel good moment seeing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, who they've never won. Like, they're said to be best friends and everything. They have a long history, but, like, they haven't won the tag titles together. And the commentators are saying, like, they've never won the tag champs. And the way they were saying it kind of made it sound like they never held it, like, neither of them ever held them ever. Is that true? I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel like it's very fitting for them. If this is Sami Zayn's first time holding tag gold, and if this is Kevin Owens' first time holding tag gold, I think it's very fitting that they hold it together at WrestleMania, at the end of, like, probably the best story that either of them have been a part of. Although Kevin Owens was a part of the Jericho storyline, so I don't know. That story kind of ended on a bit of a whimper. So, this was definitely the best story he's been a part of. And just like that, WrestleMania Night 1 comes to a close, but there's still Night 2. Overall, I think this was a solid WrestleMania. It's definitely the best one in a while. Even then, like, last year's WrestleMania was really good. I think the year before that had a very underrated WrestleMania. If not, that just felt like it just felt really good to have the fans there again. Of the 2-night WrestleManias, I think this was the best one. I can't say that yet. Night 2 hasn't happened yet, but Night 2 is shaping up to be a lot of fun too. But, like, you don't have a bad match, Cena versus Theory was... It was good, definitely, like, you got the heat moments, and, excuse me, but, yeah, I had a disappointing finish. But then the Fatal 4-Way Tag match was amazing. Rollins versus Paul was amazing. The 6-woman tag was a lot of fun. Rey versus Dominik, great storytelling, amazing. Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley, epic. That was an epic match. Pat McAfee versus The Miz, nice little impromptu match. And Kevin Owens versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos, epic. You have 2 match of the year contenders in the first half of WrestleMania. I'm excited for night 2. Which at the time of recording is tonight. If I would have, like, if there's any major issue I had throughout the show, it was the advertising. And, look, it's not as bad as, like, the advertising, let's say, in the Pitch Black match between Bray Wyatt and LA Knight at Royal Rumble, where that was just a nothing match. It was just Mountain Dew, everybody. But, like, there's 2 moments in particular. One where they just before Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul, they did an advert for WWE 2K23, and they did a thing where they're playing Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul in the game, and Seth Rollins won. And it's like 50% of the time, if Seth Rollins wins in the game, that means he would most likely win the actual match. And so it's like, what the fuck? It is 50%, so like maybe it's not gonna, but there's that, and the other one was the TurboTax sponsor during the main event. It's like they played the hype video, and then they did like a TurboTax sponsor spot. And they didn't mute this, but you can clearly hear the crowd booing. Because, like, we just want to see the main event. And then Lil Uzi Vert comes out and does the entrance for the Usos. And then the match happened and they put on a banger. But, yeah, the advertising was... Then they also had the Cinemoji. But, like, that was just, like, a mascot for the Cinemoji just appearing, just being like, hey, what's up? So... But overall, a solid night of wrestling, and I cannot wait to see night 2. And for me, it'll be quite a few hours, but for you, it'll be like, 3 seconds. And we are back, or I'm back. You guys didn't go anywhere. But yeah, I'm back. WrestleMania night 2. This was interesting. There is a lot that happened, but also it kind of felt like not as much happened. The ending to the pay-per-view, to the night, was, something. I have a lot to say about that when I get to it, though. But, yeah, we'll just get right into it. He started off again with, The Miz and Snoop Dogg opening the night, hyping us up and everything, And then we started off with, the biggest, froze there. Alright. Sorry, OBS froze for a second, so I don't... But the biggest WrestleMania match ever! I think that meme might be a little dead now that the match has happened, and it was actually kind of fun. But, Brock Lesnar versus Omos. Now, going in, I was not excited for this match. Because, I mean, like, not because they couldn't put on a show or anything, but... It's because you sacrificed a blow-off to the feud between Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley. They could have had a match at WrestleMania. It could have been, like, a major, like, no-holds-barred match. And you blew that off to get Omos on the card. And that was disappointing because, like, I don't hate Omos. A lot of people say... A lot of people, like, really don't like him because he's not a good wrestler. I can say he's trying to improve. I can give him that. You want to get him on the card, it's like, yeah, you can get him on the card, but like, because of this, Bobby Lashley, they set him up with Bray Wyatt, but then Bray Wyatt tapped out of the event. So Bobby Lashley we'll get into that in a little bit, but so yeah, it's a match between Brock Lesnar and Omos. I put my disappointment with what's the word? Just putting a major feud aside for this. I put that aside. So we have Brock Lesnar versus Omos starting the night, and it was actually kind of fun. You have, it's almost like a David versus Goliath story, except Brock Lesnar is David. Like, that's not, like, he's usually Goliath, and yeah, there's a bunch of rest holds. That wasn't fun. But then afterwards, it started getting it started to pick up. Brock Lesnar gave Omos a few German suplexes. It was actually very cool to see Brock Lesnar get thrown around like that, because like he's the guy who throws people around. You don't see that too often. So it was cool. It was just something you don't really see too often, seeing Brock Lesnar getting thrown around. But then the spot of like Brock Lesnar giving Omos an F5, this 7-foot giant, Brock Lesnar giving him an F5, that was really cool, and got him with the 1, 2, 3. Omos hasn't. I feel like Omos had more to gain from this, but like Brock Lesnar winning, I feel like was the right call, because I feel like it even though you got the size difference. Omos beating Brock Lesnar wouldn't have been believable. But yeah, decent match. I don't have much to say about it. I basically said all there is to say about the match. It's better than it had any right being. I'll say that. Alright, next up, night 1 had the men's tag team showcase match. So night 2 had the women's tag team showcase match. We got Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodrigues versus Natalya and Shotzi versus Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. Now, you might remember earlier on in this episode, to me it was like yesterday, but earlier on in this episode, I was talking about how there was more excitement going into the men's showcase match than the women's one, because the men's showcase match had 4 really solid tag teams and each of them combined you make 8 like really solid wrestlers. This, I'm not like, there's some good talent involved for sure, but the problem is, like, aside from Shayna and Ronda, all the teams are just makeshift tag teams thrown together just to have a tag team, and like that meant like Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler were the 2 obvious winners. I mean, like, not only is it because like they're the only tag team that wasn't just lazily thrown together, they're the like Ronda Rousey in particular, like, of course she's going to win. She's going to beat everyone here. This match was not good. And it's not because of the talent, because you can tell, like, all the other teams are they actually put on a show. They're trying to put on a good show. Like, when Raquel did, like, threw Liv Morgan onto, like, everyone on the outside of the ring, that was pretty cool. And when Chelsea Green did the dive, that was pretty cool, but like there wasn't much of that. There really wasn't. So the match ends like very abruptly with Shayna Baszler limping with one shoe off, so she probably hurt her ankle. beating up Shotzi or Natalya. I don't even remember. It was pretty forgettable. Then Ronda Rousey comes in and locks the armbar onto Shotzi and wins. That's literally all that Ronda did throughout the whole match. Look, I get you wanted to... Here's why I think this match happened, and also kind of why they did the men's as well. This is my theory. So, there are a lot of rumors that it was going to be Damage Control versus Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler for the women's tag titles. But then Becky and Lita won the tag titles, and the tag titles kind of got trapped into the program between Becky, Lita, Trish, and Damage Control. So, but like, whoa, you need to have Ronda Rousey on the card because she's Ronda Rousey. So okay, let's put together this fatal 4-way tag match for the women, and so we have Ronda Rousey on the card. Not have it for anything, just put this together, and because we did this with the women, we have to do it with the men as well. That's what I think happened. And it was a match. I'll say it's one of the matches of all time. So yeah, next up, I don't remember when this was, if I'm going to be honest. I think this might have been next, so I'm just going to mention this next. They did a whole thing, like, introducing the winner of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, Bobby Lashley. He comes out with the giant trophy and poses with the trophy, and then that was it. I don't know. On the one hand, I can't really fault WWE for not just making a thrown together match just to get Bobby Lashley on the card. You know, I can only assume he was originally supposed to excuse me. I can only assume he was originally supposed to go up against Brock Lesnar, and then that got mixed up. He ended up with Bray Wyatt, and then Bray Wyatt backed out due to an injury or an illness. I don't know what it was, but hoping it gets better. So that left Bobby Lashley just with nothing, which is disappointing because he's a healthy main eventer. Last summer he was really over. I wasn't really watching that much last summer, but for the little bit I did watch, whenever he would appear, he got a massive pop. And I can't tell if he's a heel or a babyface, if I'm going to be honest. But, he definitely deserves to be on the card, and he issued an open challenge. And you even had that backstage thing with KSI saying, he would like to wrestle Bobby Lashley, and Bobby Lashley actually retweeted that and, accepting the challenge. What happened in that match? Maybe that was, not a part of the plan. They're like, oh, shit, Bobby, you weren't supposed to say that. But, so on the one hand, it's it's good that they didn't just throw together a random match for Bobby Lashley. But on the other hand, he's one of your established main eventers, let's just say Roman leaves WWE. What main eventers you have that are established? Obviously they want to create some new ones. You got people like Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre. I'd say Bobby Lashley's up there as well, So why'd I go on that tangent? I kind of forgot what I was saying. I've spent a lot longer talking about Bobby Lashley. I'm spending longer talking about this than the actual duration of this little segment where Bobby Lashley was there. So I'm gonna move on. I want to move on to possibly my most anticipated match of the weekend. I might have been looking forward to this match more than any of the Bloodline stuff. If not it's my most anticipated match of the weekend, other than the Bloodline. I said the Rey versus Dominik was the best story going in, other than the Bloodline stuff. This was the most anticipated match for me going in, other than the Bloodline stuff. But sorry, I keep like sniffing kind of disgustingly. I'm a little bit, you know, what are you gonna do? I try to keep that out of recordings, but if I'm doing this, it's like can't really go around it. But we got Gunther versus Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre. Gunther versus Sheamus at Clash at the Castle was like, you know, they just smacked the shit out of each other for like, what, 10 minutes? And it was awesome. It got, not that this is like a definitive, like, scale of anything. Not that this means like as much as some people say it does, but it got a Meltzer 5-star review, and I'd say while it doesn't like that's not an official scale of how good the match is, it does speak volumes to how good the match is, you know, because he doesn't rate too many WWE matches 5 stars, and he hasn't done that in a while, at least before last year. But so this was anticipated, and then you throw in a third guy, Drew McIntyre, who also is just there to smack the shit out of each other. And like, I was like going in, like, I like to do this. I like to just in my head just think like at the beginning of the road to WrestleMania, you know, like maybe around the time of the Royal Rumble, I like to think like, what will the WrestleMania card look like? And I was thinking maybe Gunther versus Sheamus, but then seeing how you know, there's like a 3-way, like, you know, Drew and Sheamus really like teamed up throughout the Rumble, and Gunther like eliminated both of them, and all three of them had that stare down. I'm like, what if we get a triple threat? Holy shit, that would be awesome. And that's what we got. Now on to the match. This was the match of the night. Maybe match of the weekend. I don't know. The tag match in night one, you know, the Usos and Zayn and Owens and Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley were both bangers, but this match, I'm real original for making this joke, but this match slapped. All right, I don't really know what else to tell you aside from they just slapped each other, and that's a good thing. That's all I can tell you. Because that's all we really needed. You know, that's honestly what made their match at Clash at the Castle so good. Like, and you have the beats of the, I honestly kind of forget what it's called, but you know, the Sheamus doing the beats of the bow or whatever, did it to Drew. Like, nearly 30 beats. That's crazy. And stuff like Drew McIntyre doing the dive outside the ring to Sheamus. The parts where Drew and Sheamus are like fighting each other over who gets to slap the shit out of Gunther. And also Gunther's entrance. Now, it was his normal entrance. You know, they didn't give him much of a special entrance, but he has a unique entrance in general, and seeing that like on a stage like WrestleMania, and seeing like, you know, the long walk down the ramp it made him look really cool. So you have all that. You have the bro kicks and the claymores. You know, the near falls. This match was basically like, I want to say it was basically the Clash at the Castle match with Drew McIntyre in there, so you have more slapping the shit out of each other. And that's all you can ask for. That is exactly what we wanted to see here. Not to mention, the crowd was into this one. Like, the crowd really helps with certain matches. And I'll get into why maybe the crowd, like, maybe the next match fell a little short. But, the crowd were super into this. Like, they almost gave it a bit of a big match feel. You know, sorry. When the bell rang, they really just, they were hyped. And that was awesome. And Gunther won, which is really cool. You know, I did kind of want to see Sheamus win. So he wins the one title he has never held. And Drew hasn't won a match in a while. I feel like, yeah, he needs a big victory. But Gunther had the most to gain from this. You know, he has had a dominant reign as IC champion. I'm sorry. But he has had a dominant reign as champion. And he's already had, like, the longest reign of, they say, like, of the modern, of, like, the 21st century. He's had the longest Intercontinental Championship reign. And he's definitely gonna be, like, a top star in maybe, like, a few years' time. You know, you like, after that Rumble performance, I already thought, like, this dude's a star. But now, like, he's a star. So, yeah, I think you gotta pull the trigger on him sometime soon. Maybe even before next year's Mania. Because Gunther's just amazing. He put on a 5-star classic at Clash at the Castle, and maybe even he just put on another 5-star classic. And yeah, I want to see where Gunther goes here. I was thinking he'd be first to he might be the one to dethrone Cody Rhodes after Cody wins the world title. But yeah, we'll get to that match later. But yeah, definitely a solid match. Maybe match of the night. No, definitely match of the night. Maybe match of the weekend. Next up is a match I was actually looking forward to, not because of the build, because the build was dog shit, but because of the talent involved. We have, for the Raw Women's Champion, Bianca Belair versus Asuka. Now, Bianca won the Raw Women's Champion, an absolute banger match in at last year's WrestleMania. So she's held it for like a full year, you know. So she's held it for a full year, and I feel like this reign, here's my thing with the reign. It doesn't feel as much like a dominant reign as it does feel like a needlessly invincible reign. She's almost... I watched one video talking about this. I forget who it was. If I remembered, I would say who it is, but I kind of forget. But Bianca's turning into Super Cena a little bit. Like, she's getting into Super Cena territory. And I feel like Asuka was the right person to beat her. I actually thought Rhea Ripley would have been the right one. And the rumor originally was Bianca versus Rhea, which I thought would have been great, but we got Rhea versus Charlotte, which was amazing still. But Asuka with this, like, reinvented new character, you know, she's been on a roll. I thought she would have been the right one to beat Bianca, and Bianca, like, she's at a point now where she can lose the title, and honestly, it doesn't hurt her, because, like, when when she originally lost the title at SummerSlam with the fucking, like, 28 seconds or whatever bullshit, like, that really hurt her because, like, she got buried, basically. She just lost in less than a minute. And she was having an enjoyable reign. Honestly, if that happens now, it would be stupid. Like, if she lost a match in 28 seconds, it would be fucking stupid. But I don't think she gets hurt that much. So I really think Bianca should have lost this one. But at the same time, you have an undefeated streak at WrestleMania. They haven't acknowledged that yet, but Bianca puts on really good matches at WrestleMania and is undefeated. So, yeah, but about the actual match, I mentioned the crowd earlier, how crazy the crowd was for the last match, and that might have hurt this one, because the crowd was really, they went wild for the last match. So by the time this match rolled along, they weren't awake for it. They were pretty dead. And that sucks because they actually put on, Bianca and Asuka definitely put on a really good match. It was the weakest of Bianca's WrestleMania matches, but that doesn't say much because, like, her other two WrestleMania matches were, like, show stealers. This one was hurt from a dead crowd. You know? And, like, there are some actual really cool spots, like the Asuka lock, like Asuka locking in the Asuka lock, but then Bianca lifts her up and tries to do the KOD. That was pretty cool. Or like lifting Asuka over the top rope. That was really cool. But like, look, this was a good match. They had a good match, but the crowd really hurt it, I think, and it didn't have much, you know, it wasn't a banger like Bianca's last two matches, and I feel like what hurt it was Asuka really should have won, because Asuka's not won a WrestleMania match, and she really should have. But yeah, we had a decent little match. It was good. I feel like the crowd, if the crowd was, I keep mentioning the crowd. That's because sometimes a crowd can either make or break a match. And, like, there were moments where the crowd honestly should have been going crazy, but they weren't. They only really went crazy, like, towards the end where Asuka was, like, she had in the Asuka lock and Bianca was going to tap, and then it turned into a KOD. Yeah, good match, but not, like, a show stealer. Alright, moving on. We have perhaps the fucking strangest thing I've ever seen at a WrestleMania. What the fuck was this? So, we have Snoop Dogg and The Miz announcing the attendance record again, and then they announce a combined attendance record, and it's like, it's not that impressive when you realize a lot of the people that were there on night one were there on night two. So yeah, you basically took everyone who was there on night one and you multiplied them by 2. You know, that's not as impressive announcing a combined attendance record. But whatever. Then Miz says to Snoop, hey, you put me in an impromptu match when I was wearing like a $100,000 suit or whatever the fuck. I wasn't ready. And then Snoop Dogg goes, I'm sorry, my bad. And then Miz is like, no, fuck you. And then Snoop was like, alright, no, fuck you. The fuck am I? And then Shane McMahon comes out. And there were a lot of potential returns this year for WrestleMania. Shane McMahon was definitely not on my bingo card. It was nice to see him, of course. It's been a while. He last appeared during the Royal Rumble last year, where he kind of fucked the whole match up. But it was a nice moment to see Shane. But then, then they do an impromptu match, The Miz versus Shane McMahon. Shane is already sweating his fucking ass off, and does the punches, and does a leapfrog, and tears his quad. And for a second, I kind of thought, this was part of the script. I didn't really pay too much attention to, his leg giving out. I thought he just tripped, but then, they were going to go on with the match. But then they just focused a lot on Miz. And they did not show Shane at all. I'm like, oh, Shane's actually hurt. And then for a split second, you can see, medical personnel attending Shane. So Shane tore his quad. So I know we don't, you can love him or hate him, but, tearing a quad tear that's bad. So, wishing all the best to Shane. But then Snoop Dogg comes in and gives Miz a right hand, and then Miz gets back up. Snoop Dogg gives Miz another right hand, does a people's elbow, and then covers Miz for the 1-2-3 and wins. What the fuck? I was dude, I don't even know what to say. That was absolutely nuts. I do have to give credit to Snoop and Miz, for basically fixing the matchup on the fly. But, what do you even call this match? The Miz versus Shane McMahon / Snoop Dogg? What the fuck? And look. Again, I know I just said, all the best to Shane, because a quad tear, that's pretty bad. But, look, Shane, I feel like he needs to call it quits, I thought he did after Royal Rumble last year. But I don't think he should be wrestling, because he's getting old, and, he's just going to get more hurt like this. So, once again, props to Snoop and Miz for changing the match on the fly. It was definitely the most bizarre thing to happen. This was more bizarre than Logan Paul and KSI dressed up as a bottle of Prime beating the shit out of Seth Rollins. This was more bizarre. Because, at least that made some storyline sense. This was made for just a moment, I know. And, unfortunate circumstances. But it's the person who pinned The Miz was not the person who started the match with The Miz. And the fact that it was Snoop Dogg, you take this out of context. I tell my non-wrestling fan friends about this, and I want to see their reaction, So yeah, that was definitely a thing that happened. But yeah. Next up, we got. Hey, by the way, I think that might have cursed the rest of the show, and we'll see. You'll see why. Next up, we have Edge versus the Demon, Finn Balor. Now, this is a feud that has been going on for a long time. Like, I said that, earlier, I was talking about how the damage control and Becky Lynch and Lita and Trish thing had been going on since SummerSlam. This was before SummerSlam. You know, this has been in the works for a while. And Edge and Finn Balor had a lot of matches here and there. A lot of, like, tag team matches, you know, with the rest of the Judgment Day. We went through the whole, like, why the fuck did Edge get exiled from the Judgment Day and get replaced by Finn Balor when they were just feuding with Finn? But Finn, being the, he has a lot more chemistry with Damian Priest and Dominik and Rhea Ripley. So, yeah, that worked out better, I think. But, so we have the Edge versus the Demon, Finn Balor. Fucking hell, dude, it's too early. You know, my throat is not clear. But, we got that, and we got it inside of a Hell in a Cell match. And I like this. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's noise in the back. I like this. You know. So I like this. Sorry, I had to. That noise was bothering me. But I like this because a Hell in a Cell should not be. A Hell in a Cell match should not be like, it's that time of year again, here's the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, where there's 2 Hell in a Cell matches, sometimes even 3, just because it's that time of year. No, that shouldn't be. A Hell in a Cell match should be, like, between 2 people who fucking hate each other, who have been in a blood feud, like, feuding for, like, as long as these 2 have. Like, what better way to end this than in a Hell in a Cell match? And I thought, like, when they did Edge versus Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel a few years ago, in a Hell in a Cell match, like, that was cool, because that wasn't the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. That was to end the feud. And it did. And then they did the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, where they admittedly had just the one Cell match between Cody and Seth, and that match was like an all-time great. But, you know, but still, this is the proper use of the cell, and they didn't use the stupid fucking red cell. They used the like gray or silver or whatever color. Like, there's, I feel like people said different things. I feel like gray. It's gray. They used the gray cell. The red cell, I'll admit, actually looked kind of cool, but it's like, it's too gimmicky, you know? Like, you want it to feel a bit more real. You give it, like, the actual color of an actual cage. And Edge and Finn Balor, first of all, we got Brood Edge, which I thought was really cool. It was kind of, I feel like we all kind of knew we were getting Brood Edge versus Demon Finn Balor. But yeah, but Demon Finn Balor was pretty cool. This wasn't even Judgment Day, Demon Finn. Like, he brought back the trunks. He brought back the old music. You know, he has a new theme that kind of alters his old theme a little bit. And I was actually a little iffy on bringing back the Demon for this, because I wasn't quite sure how well the Demon persona fits with his Finn's new Judgment Day character, you know. But regardless, I thought the Demon was here so Finn can win. By the way, I didn't have a problem with how either, like, whoever would win. I would have preferred if Finn Balor won, because, like, Edge won a lot, and we already got like the feel good moment at Elimination Chamber. if Finn wins, you kind of create a new star. But, being in this big feud with Edge, culminating at WrestleMania in a Hell in a Cell match, I actually think does elevate Finn Balor. But it is a little disappointing that the Demon lost. But they had a hard match. They really did. They put on a good match. But here's when I say that the show got cursed after Shane's quad tear. Because there's a spot where Edge threw a ladder at Finn Balor's face. And then they cut away from it, but Finn Balor, busted open. And they, had to stop the match so they can give Balor medical assistance. Now, of course, someone's personal safety is definitely more important than this, So, it's no one's fault that this happened, but it really did break the flow of the match. The match was actually, really good, and then that happened, and it definitely picked up afterwards, but, I can't, I don't know, it didn't really, I don't know, it just didn't feel this, something about how, you have these two, and again, this is no one's fault, once again, the safety and the well-being of these human beings are more important than what we are watching, ultimately. But there's something about these two people who hate each other, and they put themselves in a Hell in a Cell, and even Finn Balor as the Demon, who's who doesn't feel pain. There's something about having to stop the match to patch him up. Kind of it makes it hard to suspend your disbelief a little bit. You know what I mean? And I feel really bad for holding that against the match. I'll say this was a match that got marred by unfortunate circumstances. Because they did actually put on a good match. This was pretty big for Finn Balor, like I said. He hasn't really been pushed very well until Triple H got involved, and now you can tell he's really getting pushed. Getting a featured match like this with Edge at WrestleMania. That's pretty big. And there's some cool spots, all the table spots and stuff. They didn't use a red cell, but they sure as hell used red chairs for some reason. That was a little weird. And colored and red kendo sticks. What the fuck? So I thought that was weird. But yeah, they had a solid match. I might be singing its praises a little more if Finn Balor didn't get busted open. And by the way, I saw on Twitter just how big that gash on his head was. And yes, you stop the match for that. If he can't come, honestly, I'm surprised he kept going after that. I'm not gonna show the picture, especially if you're audio listener. If you're an audio listener. If you're an audio listener, then you can't see the picture. But, I'm not going to show it for you YouTube viewers. I'm not going to show it because I think it might, get this video age restricted. I really, But, at your own risk, go on Twitter and find Finn Balor's massive cut on his head. It looks like a stab wound. So honestly, hoping Finn Balor recovers, but also props to him for finishing the match like that. So yeah, Anyways, we got... Alright, so that was that match. Then we got some other stuff. It was a whole lot of ads. We've got the Hall of Fame stuff, which is cool. I guess you gotta fill out time. I have some stuff to say about that later. But then we get to the main event. And oh boy, even though we had a good WrestleMania, a great WrestleMania, Night 1, look at that. Night 2, Night 2, you know, definitely not as good, but like, you know, Edge versus Balor had its moments, Bianca versus Asuka had its moments, you know, Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew were amazing. Snoop Dogg pitting the Miz out of fucking nowhere is gonna be talked about as probably one of the most bizarre things to ever happen at WrestleMania. But we had the main event, and this had a big match feel. Cody Rhodes challenging Roman Reigns for the... Fine, I'll call it this for this one time. The undisputed WWE Universal Champion. The UWU, as many people like to call it. And I was excited for this match. Cody was over. You know, Roman has had a near 1,000 day long reign as champion, but like it's growing stale. I kind of think it started to grow stale like before last year's WrestleMania. I think before the end of 2021 it started to grow a bit stale because, like, you know, but Cody is super hot right now. They sacrifice people like Sami Zayn or Drew McIntyre, you know, people who were red hot, people who were over as hell that could have beaten Roman, but they sacrificed all of them. And in the back of our minds, we're like, all right, we know we got Cody. But we'll get into that. Cody comes out, and the crowd's into it. I have an issue that I forgot to mention in Night 1. Because this was present in Night 1, and it was definitely present here. And this is an example of it. So, for weeks... I was really looking forward to this little thing. For weeks, whenever Cody would enter, you know, in his song where they go like, whoa, you know, the whole crowd in unison goes like, whoa, right? So I really just wanted to see just how loud it would be at WrestleMania. And... you know, when Cody's, like, ready to do the pose for the whoa, and everyone's about to scream, the camera cuts away. And, like, then all the pyrotechnics go off. You cut away from that. And a cut back just before the pyro goes off, I should say that. But, like, shit like that, it's like, there's a bunch of, like... just jumpy camera cuts and a bunch of crowd shots when there shouldn't be crowd shots. That happened way too much throughout the weekend. But anyways, you see Cody comes out and you know, his wife, his daughter, his sister, his mother are all in the crowd, and then Brody Lee's son is in the crowd. It's like, holy shit, Cody better win this. And then we get to Roman, and I started to get worried here because they gave him a special entrance, and it was a really cool entrance. You know, get piano players playing his theme. But I started to get a little worried, being like, wait. I was already a little worried because it's like Roman hasn't hit 1,000 days. It would probably be big if they had Roman hit 1,000 days and then have Cody beat him, but surely that's not more important than right now. But I got worried by the special entrance because I was like, Cody didn't get a special entrance. But Roman did. But I'm like, That doesn't mean anything. So, we get a match, or Roman comes down to the ring, and his entrance, along with Cody's entrance, is already fills up the amount of time of a match. So, yeah, I guess we're padding out time. But yeah, so they're both in the ring, staring each other down, and it definitely has that big match feel. The crowd were absolutely hyped for this. They were kind of dead for Bianca versus Asuka, and they weren't as fired up for Edge versus Finn Balor. I didn't mention that, but because the crowd popped way more than they did with Bianca versus Asuka for that match. But like, they were saving everything up for this one, and they were definitely here to see Cody Rhodes finally dethrone Roman Reigns and finish the story. And look, before we get to the finish, they put on a fantastic match. You know, the Usos weren't there because it's like, you know, they already lost last night. Solo Sikoa's there, but he gets ejected. Another nitpick about the refs, like, the ref heard Solo whip Cody with the belt. That should be a disqualification, you know? Obviously, we don't want a disqualification at WrestleMania, especially in the main event. But, like, it's just... The ref didn't see it, but the ref fucking heard it and ejected Solo, and that got a loud pop. And, like, there are a bunch of near falls. There are times where, like, you thought Roman was gonna win. Like, you kind of knew. This is me speaking in the moment, I guess. I kind of knew Cody was gonna win, or I guess thought Cody was gonna win. But then it's like, oh, Roman's gonna win, though. Damn. Like, but they had a back and forth match. They went absolutely nuts. Hitting all the finishers. They put on a fucking banger. They really stole the show. This, I almost want to say this might have been one of Roman's best main events of WrestleMania. I was going to say it's the best, but the finish, I'll get to the finish. But, like, you have the problem here, you still have the ref bump. And then the Usos interfering. And it's enough already. Enough with the fucking ref bumps. I know it puts heat on Roman. He's a heel. And the Usos are heels. But, like, it just gets tiring after a while. Every fucking Roman Reigns match has a ref bump. And it's honestly like, you know, you want Roman to come across as this big, bad, final boss bad guy who like, is really tough, and he's a really hard guy to beat. It keeps taking away whenever there's a fucking ref bump, so he fucking cheats. He has interferences from his two lackeys every goddamn time. Is he really that tough, or does he need, like, backup? You know, but then you get a moment where Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn come out, and they beat up the Usos. Kevin Owens gives Roman a stunner. Sami Zayn gives Roman a haluva kick. And then, Cody gave Roman 3 crossroads. And all the while, like, Sami and Kevin are fighting the Usos in the back. So the program between them is definitely not finished. So 3 crossroads. Oh no. They place Cody onto Roman. Ref slowly counts 1, 2. Roman kicks out. So then Cody does 3 crossroads to Roman. And honestly, I think that's when it should have ended. But Roman kicked out. Paul Heyman distracts the referee. Solo Sikoa comes and gives a Samoan spike to Cody. Roman does a spear to Cody. 1, 2, 3. Roman retains. Now here's the thing. I've heard people defend this. And look, okay, first of all, definitely unexpected. And definitely has the heartbreak you want to feel. Because everyone in that building wanted to see Cody win. You know? And there are people that are mad about it on Twitter. Of course. Twitter's Twitter. I saw one person block Roman Reigns, block the Usos, block Triple H for booking this on Twitter. And that's kind of funny, if I'm going to be honest. But it's like, okay. Grow up. You know, it is just wrestling. You know, this isn't the end of the world. And it's definitely building towards something. But my problem is, this should have, like, Cody absolutely should have won. And it's not like, you know, I'm mad in, like, the way they want me to be. It's like, they had the perfect story. They had the perfect scenario at which, like, Cody could have beaten Roman. That, like, you know, you had the perfect ending to an overall really good WrestleMania. But you didn't do it. You had Roman retain for the 3rd year in a row, by the way. And I feel like after that, it was just, they immediately just went off the air. They panned to Cody, kind of like, in the ring, just, you know, reflecting on the match. Now, I've seen a lot of people compare that to John Cena when he was, like, sitting in disappointment after he lost to The Rock. And that led to a rematch at the next year's WrestleMania. So maybe this leads to a rematch at the next year's WrestleMania. Maybe Cody is going to face a whole bunch of setbacks and win the Royal Rumble again, and we're going to run it back, and Cody wins. There's 2 problems with that. A, that means we have another year of Roman as champion, which means, like, the reign's already gone really stale. So, like, by the time next year comes along, it's like I don't think it's just, I don't think it's gonna be like, I don't know what to say really. It's just Roman his reign's gone incredibly stale. That, and when that happened with Cena, he was already a made man. He won the world title many times. He had main evented WrestleMania many times, you know, and he could afford a major setback like that. He could afford to lose a whole bunch of matches because he's John Cena. Cody hasn't, like, they keep, like, you know, because they paid him a lot of money to to come to WWE after AEW. They're presenting him like a top guy. But he hasn't won a world title. He's not really a made man yet. So, you know, you can't really have that many setbacks with him. At least not yet. And I feel like he already had a major setback. Having to sit out, 6 months after having a torn quad? Not a torn pec. And, like, the problem is, I don't know if I'm going to sound really toxic when I say this. Look, I'm not done with the company, you know. I'm not done watching WWE. Because this is obviously building towards something, you know. Seeing the interview with Triple H at the end, this story's definitely not done. It's going to lead to a rematch, maybe at SummerSlam. But even then, it's like, Cody was red hot here. You had him lose. I don't think he's gonna be that over by SummerSlam. Maybe he's like really over, so maybe like so maybe, but I don't know. Like I don't know how much more I'm gonna be watching until then, because not because it's like I'm tapping out, I'm fucking done, this sucks. Like no. This is leading towards something good. The problem is I'm just not invested right now. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, you know, they're gonna have this story go on until SummerSlam. It's like Roman's not sticking around. He's not gonna be. He's probably not gonna be at Backlash. He's not gonna be at the next Saudi Arabia show. He's not gonna be at Money in the Bank. So it's like, if we have this at SummerSlam, it's better than like waiting it off for another year. I will say that, because that's another year as of Roman as champion, which he's been a great champion, but it's time to. I feel like it's been time to take the belt off him, like a year ago at least. I really do. So you still have, that's still, like, Roman's still gonna be champion. He's barely gonna be, you know, because he's adjusted to more of a part-time schedule. So he's barely gonna be wrestling that much, only wrestling the bigger events. Which, I don't know, though. Like, Backlash is taking place in Puerto Rico. He usually comes for the Saudi Arabia shows. And Money in the Bank is taking place in London. He's usually there for, like, the international shows, so maybe he'll be there. But, like, I don't, like... So, but he's probably not going to be there. And when he does have a match, it's going to be the formulaic, you know, back and forth, you know, Roman's about to lose, ref bump, Usos get involved, the challenger beats the shit out of them, but Roman wins when the ref wakes up. That's what it's going to be. And the magic, the atmosphere, I don't think it's going to be there at SummerSlam. They could have a story where it's like, you know, Cody is hell-bent on making sure that Roman does not, you know, that he because, like, you have to, like, the way this story has been told, like, with Drew McIntyre, for example, like, that seemed like a good time to take the belt off of Roman and put it on Drew when he was red hot in the UK. But he lost that match, and it didn't feel like he had to win that match, you know what I mean? Because he already had that moment. He already had his moment with the top belt. Sami Zayn, a little different, you know, in Montreal, his hometown, you know, it felt like the perfect time for him to defeat Roman, but he didn't. But that was because we knew Cody was coming. This felt like the perfect time for Cody to beat Roman, but he didn't. But, like, unlike Sami Zayn and unlike Drew McIntyre, with Cody, like, I don't think you can have him just become, like, a mid-carder or an upper-carder, like, non-main eventer, like, because what was all this for, then? Because you sacrificed a lot. You sacrificed Drew McIntyre. You sacrificed Sami Zayn. You sacrificed Solo Sikoa's undefeated streak. You know, you sacrificed a lot. And for what? If you're not gonna... If Cody... So, Cody, I feel like he has to be the one to dethrone Roman. And I guess now, like, by the end of that, maybe by SummerSlam, if this happens, that's what I'm thinking. I think this is gonna happen at SummerSlam. Like, it has to happen, because Like, by then, I think it'll be 1,000 days. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it'll be 1,000 days by then. But if not, it's like, enough with this Roman. Like, we get it. Like, I know you want him to hit 1,000 days past whoever, Pedro Morales or Bob Backlund or whoever the fuck. But, like, if he lost it now, it's not like, oh man, he never got to hit 1,000 days. He only got 940 days or whatever. It's like, you guys understand he won the title when we were in the fucking Thunderdome, when there was no crowd. That's how long, that feels like forever ago. That's how long ago he won it. He has not lost it since. You know, and the other thing is, I feel like, you know, WWE is actually, like, red hot right now. Like the logistics and stuff, you know, like, this WrestleMania had a huge buy rate. A lot of people were invested in this WrestleMania. And, you know, I don't know if it's because Triple H is taking over. I don't know if it's, like, the Bloodline stuff. But the fact of the matter is, WWE is definitely in some sort, maybe not the biggest, but some sort of boom period. You know what I mean? And I feel like with Cody dethroning Roman, that could have started a future for the company, you know? Because then we can get the belts defended a lot more. We can eventually get the belts split up. That's another thing. The belts are still going to be won. So you can get the belts split up, you know, and all these other people, like, we're saying Gunther's a future champion. We're saying Austin Theory's a future champion. You know, they're trying to build Finn Balor back up. Dominik's, let's be real, he's going to get there at some point. But we can't have any of that if Roman is still reigning. And all this does is just make Roman look stronger. But a 900-day reign is enough. He looks strong enough. I'm pretty certain this is going to build towards something good. I think we're going to get the happy ending to Cody's story in the end. But honestly, I feel like if you wanted to have a rematch between these two, you could have had Cody win, then Roman challenge Cody at SummerSlam. That would have been interesting, having Roman as the challenger. That would have been very different. But I for some reason, there's this, like, they think that in order to make any match with any, like, dream match, like, big, like, it needs to be for a title. Like, they think if they really are trying to do The Rock versus Roman at Mania 40, and that's why they kept the belts on Roman, that doesn't need the belt. So, yeah, I've gone on long enough about this. Great match. It would have been an all-time classic, though, if Roman had not won. But, like, I might be singing a different tune by the end of this story, because, like I said, it's not done. But, yeah, that's WrestleMania Night 2. Definitely, Night 1 really set the bar high. Night 1 was just banger after banger after banger after banger. Night 2 was fun match with Omos and Lesnar. Then a nothing match with the women's showcase match. Then absolutely, like, show stealer with Drew, Sheamus, and Gunther. Then a heatless affair, but they really tried and they put on a decent match with Bianca and Asuka. Then a what the fuck moment with Shane, Miz, and Snoop Dogg. And then a really solid match that, unfortunately, due to unfortunate circumstances, got a little fucked over with Edge and Finn Balor. And then a fantastic match with Roman and Cody that ended on a whimper. And unfortunately, like, I think all these WrestleManias, like, it's always how they end is how they are mostly remembered, you know? Because you can have, like, a fantastic WrestleMania, but if it ends in a disappointing fashion, that's the final taste that gets left in the mouths of the viewers. This WrestleMania was definitely better than most. You know, it might be the best one. I think it's definitely the best two-night WrestleMania. If for night one alone. They were very annoying with the ads. Especially during the, I forgot to mention during the Edge versus Finn Balor episode, the Pope's Exorcist. That ad kept popping up. There's even, like, an advert for the match, for the movie. Like, the commentators, like, literally said, like, Pope's Exorcist in theaters on April fucking whatever. Like, in the middle of the match. Like, it didn't, like, they didn't just play an advertisement, a trailer for it in the middle of the match, but, like, they did that in the middle of the match. It's like, fuck off, dude. You know? But, yeah. But overall, great matches, some great storytelling, some great moments, some great spectacle. You know, putting in a nice knot on a lot of feuds, keeping some of them going for the foreseeable future. But man, the ending really soured me. And I hate that, because this was a really good WrestleMania. And, you know, sometimes heartbreak is, like, a good storytelling tactic. But I don't think it was necessary here. I really don't. Because I feel like it was at the expense of a lot of things just to send the fans home heartbreaking. And just to make Roman look stronger. And he doesn't need to look any stronger than he does. But yeah, that's my thoughts on WrestleMania. This might be the longest episode of DPX Talks for about an hour. Both recordings were 2 hours long. Or no, 1 hour long. Which means that this whole thing is 2 hours long. The longest episode. So, we're going to cut it here. Thanks for stopping by. I don't usually do wrestling stuff that much, especially on my main channel. I usually stick to the podcast when I want to talk about wrestling. This will be the most I talk about wrestling each year. But yeah, be sure to like this video, come subscribe. If you're on YouTube, go over to my SoundCloud, DPX Talks for about an hour. And go follow me there. If you're on SoundCloud on my podcast, the audio version, go over to my YouTube, DPX Solo. Subscribe. I post a lot of gaming content. And yeah, I'll see you guys later this month with a normal episode of DPX Talks for about an hour. Bye, guys.